سبحان فالق الإصباح.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Impact Attack right here on twitch.tv/Hameen Media Group, as well as we are on hackerhameen.podbean.com, and this will be on Hameen Media Group on YouTube as well. I am your host of the most, lives on the West Coast, your boy MSG, aka Matthew Schaffer. Each and every week we break down Impact Wrestling. As I like to claim, this is the Stratosphere's greatest Impact Wrestling review show ever. And I am joined this week, as I have been joined over the last month itself, since he has joined Hameen Media. But this time we got a different individual. It's some maybe potential sports athlete, Teddie.
MSG. No, I'm just Teddie. I'm just here. I'm just here to be good, not bad, but good. And I'm here because we saw a great team on Impact, the team of Dakota Kai and Susie, who is trying just to be good. And that's all really I think we all want to be in life, MSG. At the end of the day, we all just want to be good. So don't be bad. Be good.
Be good. Be
okay?
good.
Be good.
All right.
Speaking of good, I go ahead.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, speaking of being good, I feel like I have to make a clarifying statement at the top of the show because I haven't told you this, but and I don't know if you realized it, but in the last 24 to 48 hours, at least my phone's been getting blown up because of a story that got picked up on the Monday Locker Room when I had mentioned about Tony Gunn and having contention over the term The Gun Show. It seems like some dirt sheets had picked up part of the story that I did clarify later on in that interview, but they ran with the first part of the story that I was inaccurate on. And the inaccurate part of it was saying that there was a cease and desist letter. I should not have used that particular term. I later on did go to clarify it wasn't an actual physical cease and desist letter, but rather representatives of Billy Gunn had reached out to inform Tony Gunn, not directly, mind you, but through channels and other parties, that he could no longer use the term The Gun Show. So yes, it was not an actual cease and desist letter. People, I guess, on Twitter were going after Tony Gunn, saying to show the letter. It's a bunch of BS. What's wrong with you? And if anything, me speaking the wrong term, although I did again later clarify in that statement there was no cease and desist letter. But unfortunately, though, it didn't keep the internet from attacking Tony Gunn over a cease and desist letter that did not exist. So I do want to clarify. First of all, whoever ran with that story, get the whole story first, because this is why people don't trust media and news nowadays, because they'll take part of a story and swing it and turn it in a way that is completely untrue. And now possibly you've made life much harder for this young wrestler that's trying just to make a name for himself. The people that should be held in contempt through this whole thing is Billy Gunn for not having the balls and just the fortitude to go to Tony Gunn and either ask for the Gun Show name that Tony's been using, or if you're just going to take it, that's fine. But again, at least have the balls to reach out and say, hey, I'm taking this, and not having other people do it. And the other person that is complicit in it, and I'll call out to an extent, is one Al Snow for not standing up for his talent and just letting it happen, and for being one of the third-party channels that had to inform Tony Gunn that he could no longer use the Gun Show. So, again, I just want to make this clear, because by no means should this be coming back on Tony as a bad thing. Billy Gunn and Al Snow are the two that can make this right. I hope they stand up for the right thing and work with Tony on making this right. But to be clear, there was no cease and desist letter, but there was an order or a demand, let's say, for Tony Gunn to stop using the term The Gun Show. And that is the bullshit situation. And that is the story that people need to be hanging on to, and not whether or not there was a cease and desist letter, which was not even the main part of the story. To be clear, there was no cease and desist letter. MSG, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Was there a cease and desist letter?
There was no cease and
All
desist
right, there
letter.
was no cease and desist letter. So
Okay.
I think we should be clear. And now, MSG, finally, I can be good.
Finally,
Finally.
The Teddie has come back to your Impact Attack. Thank you so much, Dr. Teddie, for clarifying, sir, and making sure that the
sometimes I forget the reach we really have. That little small thing I say can stir things up. And again, my intentions really were pure because I thought it was a raw deal that Tony was getting, and I certainly did not mean to make the situation more difficult for him. But hopefully, this clarifies it, clears it up, and again, I'm hopeful that since this situation has been brought to light, that the right thing will be done and they'll do right by Tony. But more on this news story as it develops. And I would say for the most accurate information on the story and the day-to-day of what's going on, definitely check out Tony Gunn's social media pages. And I'm sure you'll be kept up to date there as this story continues to develop.
Well, I mean, I can't disagree there with your thoughts, sir. It's definitely, we appreciate you clarifying it. I guess is what I was going to say earlier, and putting that information out there. Yeah, it's definitely a trip sometimes realizing the reach we have, the people that listen, the feedback that we get from different professional wrestlers.
And it's great. Don't get me wrong, but I also have to be cognizant of any piece of information I say, even though I might go back and clarify, anything can be clipped out and misinterpreted. So if anything, let this be a teachable moment and be sure that at least when getting into particulars in regards to legal situations that, you say the right term the first time and don't talk off the cusp because they will clip you out, MSG. They will clip you out. And the next thing you know, MSG, you're working in a sweatshop somewhere, making something. I don't know what the heck you make, but music, beautiful music in a sweatshop somewhere in Vietnam, wondering why didn't I just say the right thing the first time? Why did they clip me out? Why did they clip me the wrong way, MSG? And you're just making music in a sweatshop.
I'm sorry. Well, we can blame Kaz if you want. I mean, that's his job, right? He's the one to clip you out. It's his fault.
We'll say it was all him. I don't even think it was him. I don't remember who it was. I did get a link to the story, and it was someone I had heard of. So as much as I do want to pass the heat on someone, but it's really more so not passing the heat, but more of make sure you get the whole story before you put it out there, because it could really mess up, someone's situation if you're putting inaccurate information out there. And again, I did clarify myself in the interview, but because I didn't clarify it in that one clip, it was misconstrued and it messed things up, at least temporarily for Tony. But again, I'm hopeful that because at least if my intentions were pure, and I'm hoping at least bringing light to the situation, that it will be rectified in a manner that is good for Tony, for lack of a better word. I was trying to get really fancy with my wording there, MSG, and it failed me at the time, but I just hope it works out good for Tony.
No, I mean, you want the best intentions for your friend and your colleague as well. You also don't want to be the person that's spreading misinformation, as that's obviously not a positive look for your brand yourself as an individual, right? So
absolutely. And Fudge 420 joining us. Fudge 420, we are blowing the cobwebs and the dust out of this group. I saw it has been 3 months since we've been live on the Humete Media Group, and thank you for the bits. Thank you for the love this morning as we get ready to review your Impact Attack. We're getting ready. We're getting close. Next week's the go home show, right? We're getting close to Slammiversary time.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, is this the second to last week before the big pay-per-view?
Yeah, no, I apologize. I got sidetracked for a second because I have the stream in OBS and it didn't say Fudge 420. Didn't any bits and stuff like that. So my bad, Fudge. I would have shouted you out because I'm like, it's not refreshing here for me. So
you were just telling me before we went on air, like you can't stand Fudge 420.
What?
How come, MSG? Why were you saying that?
I didn't say any of that.
I'm kidding. See, this is why I got to blow the cobwebs off every now and again. Otherwise, this chat room doesn't show up.
Right.
We'll blame it on that.
Well, we appreciate the bits, Fudge. We are, of course, I guess we'd be, man, it's been so long for me to say this. This is an affiliated channel, so of course we can take bits. I worked pretty diligently at the beginning of this channel to get us to that point so we can take bits because you have to jump through all the number of hoops, right? We are clearly not on the path to partnership right now at this current time, but who knows? Maybe with the influx
what's all that mean? I am not a Twitcher. I'm not one who twitches. often. So can you please, especially for those who maybe are watching this and don't understand, what does that mean to become a Twitch partnership? So right now we're a Twitch affiliate, and that's a good thing, right? So we can get bits or whatever. So what's that mean to have a partnership?
So when you become a partner with Twitch, you start to increase your overall intake of revenue because now you get a piece of advertising.
Gotcha.
And to reach partnership though, you have to have a minimum, I believe, of an average of 100 viewers on every show, and you have to have a specific amount of recorded hours on a month in a rolling 30-day cycle. So achieving that is a little bit more challenging, obviously, if you're the conspiracy horseman with Ben Hummy and Stevie Richards,
Sure. Well, let's build it back up. I think we just got to get consistent with it,
Oh, yeah.
So considering we're getting ready to cross that 2 million download threshold, I think we can definitely get the numbers there. I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't happen to know how close we are, do you? At the top here,
as far as
how close we are to 2 million downloads on the Podbean.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can answer that simply. We are at 1,991,148.
We're close.
So we are less than 9,000 downloads away.
That's exciting, man. I'm pumped. Thank you all so much for contributing and just for being great listeners. Couldn't do it at all without the listeners. So huge thank you to everyone for making it possible. And I'm excited here. I think within the next 2 weeks, we're going to cross it, man. So a lot of exciting things going on at the Humete Media Group for sure.
I can't disagree. Well, hey guys, obviously you can tell the fearless leader of this brand is not joining us today. Ben Hameen. He told me he was off building stuff. I guess he's doing construction somewhere in the middle of the woods. Maybe he's making, advancements to his bunker as the world continues to crumble around. But
or maybe the ultimate weapon of mass destruction right up there in upstate New York. Who knows? Possibly. With Ben Hameen, you never know. Perhaps a bunker, perhaps a weapon, perhaps he's doing some secret co-op training mission today. We don't know. Truly.
All right.
We're postulating.
Well, there we go. Now my Twitch stream is finally fully functional. I can interact with everybody here, so I'm happy about that. But yes, Ben Hameen hopefully is building some sort of weapon to mass destruction. I mean, some sort of weapon of love destruction. Bring the world together, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Love Teddie here.
Ben is always known for those twists that you don't expect and swerving. And what a swerve that would be. We all know Ben Hameen is this vengeful, just huge heel, but in reality, perhaps all he really wanted all along was just a little bit of love, MSG.
Just a little bit.
I like it. Just a little bit of love.
Not to stooge off any information here, but a couple weeks ago, if you were watching twitch.tv/conspiracyhorseman, Ben was having a good time that night. And, it just so happened that Ben revealed that he's got a pretty decent singing voice. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for revealing that, but Ben's got a little bit of a love in his voice. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, a little bit. He busted out some little bit of Boyz II Men chorus.
Could that be what Ben is working on today? Ooh. Perhaps he's working on the record deal, and we'll have Hameen, hip hop Hameen will be making his way to the airwaves soon.
You just have Ben Hameen and himself cloned 4 different ways, and it'd be Boyz II Hameen. Y'all, I love you. Anyway. Impact Attack, guys. Let's get into the Impact Wrestling Review Show. There wasn't really any hot news items I really wanted to go over or anything like that. You guys covered a lot on the Monday Locker Room as far as the big headlines, and I haven't really seen anything big happen in the last 24 to 48 hours other than Brian Pillman Jr. He's going to be wrestling on AEW Dark. Are you familiar? I mean, I know did you guys talk about a little bit about your experiences with Brian Pillman Jr. on the Monday Locker Room? Am I having podcast CTE now?
No, it was a quick, funny story, and I did have a run-in, and I'll say, rather than rehash the whole thing, if you check out the Monday Locker Room, we did get into it a little bit, and I had a funny story where I got a little bit of a ribbon on Brian Pillman Jr. when he came through OVW, and but he was a good kid. I think he's got a really bright future. I think him being in AEW is perfect because I think he'll have really good influence with some of the older veterans in the locker room, and I think AEW is a promotion that really respects history and tries to bring things full circle as it relates to things that happened in the golden age of wrestling, back in the 70s and 80s, and doing a lot of callbacks to that era. So I think into the 90s, of course, when Pillman was when his dad was around. So I think ultimately it's the best place for him to be right now at his early budding career, and I'm excited to see what they do with him. I think he's going to be on the show next week, from what I heard. So
I
I'm
think
excited.
I think it's now. I think he's on, or it's either he's on YouTube now, or it'll be on Thursday. I think that's when I dropped the new Dark episodes.
That's right. Yeah, because he had a AEW Dark match. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he's got a lot of potential, and we'll see what he can do. Hopefully, he can live up to that potential and come out of the shadow that is being a wrestler when you come from a family that either your mom or your dad was a famous wrestler. So obviously, hopefully he can step out of his dad's shadow too. And I think if he keeps his head on his shoulders and he's got a great group of guys around him again, I think having those veterans in the AEW locker room can help him with that and find his own confidence in who is Brian Pillman Jr., not just, the son of a famous wrestler. And I think hopefully he'll be able to do that.
I don't disagree, and I think that if he continues to evolve as a professional wrestler, he can definitely be a second generation superstar, whether in AEW or potentially WWE down the line as well, because WWE loves playing into that generational history as well. Being part of that evolution in families, right? That's you guys. I've heard you guys talk about that a lot in the past when it comes to WWE. They're always pushing for people to, have kids and try to settle down and be part of the business and whatnot, and keep it almost inclusive, to try and bring up the next crop. So Brian Pillman Jr. remains seen. But this is Impact Wrestling now, guys. If you want more AEW talk, you can check out Light the Fuse Thursday morning with myself, Ben Hameen, and Chris Silvio, as well as you can also check out the competing show, Dr. Ted's review of NXT, which it looks like you've been having Colin Wysong come on recently. Is that a permanent fixture now? Is he part of your show?
It is temporarily permanent, and by that I mean he's doing a fine job as co-host. Actually, it's an intro. Well, we basically did the same thing I did when you took the opportunity a few weeks back to do NXT, and it's I do it just like we do tape review back in the day at OVW. We go segment by segment and just kind of run through it. And so I'm taking the approach like I'm and of what he thinks the business was, did the business get accomplished, and then we talk through it segment by segment, and it's actually been fun. It's kind of getting my brain going, because I also try to think of how to explain things in ways to where really it not just you have to be an expert by any means to understand it, because really with any wrestling show, any child, grandparent, someone that's been in wrestling for years or has never seen wrestling should be able to understand the stories you're trying to tell ultimately. And there always should be a goal to where anyone can be able to understand the business that is taking place inside the ring. And if there's any kind of question as to whether or not what is really happening in the ring and what is the takeaway, then that creates a problem. And then we talk through ways that perhaps maybe business could have been done more clearly and more effectively and yada, yada. But it is an interesting take on it. And I've actually really been enjoying my interactions with Colin. And I'm looking forward to continuing this, at least until things change. But you know how if there's any constant in life, MSG, it's always changing. So for right now, it's myself and Colin with the NXT review, and I've been having a lot of fun with them. And so at least for the time being, it's going to be us taking on that show. And some even say that it might be a better review show than the AEW review show. I didn't say that. I didn't personally say it, but I heard people on the internet were saying that the hosts there at NXT were just better hosts or something. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. That's just hearsay. But I guess really the best way to find out, MSG, is to watch both shows and judge for yourself, right?
Well, all I can say is one guy on my show was actually on NXT, so I'll let him do the talking itself. Let's get into the Impact Attack, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
But, of course, we are sponsored by thebrosters.com. You can pick up your bag of Russo Bro coffee, Zordos olive oil for the finest Greek artisan oil, ProWrestlingTees.com/BenHameen, SCG shirts, BWO Stevie and Greek God Papadon. And, of course, also check out, I think, something, Can You Handle Bar, Ben Hameen's mustache and beard groomer. He's sponsored by them for a couple of years. So check that out. And yeah, that's all of our sponsors we have. So let's get into Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling tonight started off with Josh Matthews and Madison Rain kind of welcoming us as we kicked it off. And we get a Knockouts tag team match. Before we get started here, something that I thought was interesting is, it looks like here we're going to be getting the return of the Knockouts tag team championship. They've kind of been a little bit hyping it up, it seems, over the last week or two. I want to shout out Sean Ross Sapp for putting out this idea on Impact on his Twitter. He's like, this is the third time I've been putting it out. You have Eric Young and ODB show up at Slammiversary. They technically never lost the Knockouts tag team championships. They show up acting as they're still the champions. You have them drop the titles that night, and then that's how you reintroduce the championships back into the division. What do you think of that idea, Dr. Ted?
I like it. Being unfamiliar with the stories, I'm assuming that's true that they had the Knockouts titles, and I guess maybe contracts or something. They just stopped. So I think that if they are looking to bring back that division, that would be, again, I'm all about callbacks, and that sounds like it would be an incredible callback, especially with two wrestlers that are still, I feel, recognizable. Like the fans would know who they are, obviously, too, and it'd be a good way to elevate the bringing back the championships onto a new team, whoever that might be, whether it be the team of I know they have Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan that seem like they're vying for a tag team position, and then Jessica Havoc and who's the other
Nevaeh?
Nevaeh, yeah. It seems like they are building more women tag teams. So certainly, if they're going to go in that route, I think that would be a great way to do it.
Yeah, I think it would be a fun, novel idea. And if Slammiversary is supposed to be the whole bringing back, potentially other TNA talent or one night only, it's a fun way to re-energize the division. And it kind of gives closure to the diehard Impact Wrestling fans who've been watching the whole time. Like, what the hell? They took away this title. Well, hey, they did. They finally paid it off. So, and Impact seems to be more in tune, I guess you might say, with the smarter fan. The internet fan, the diehard fan, those who are watching Impact Wrestling tend to fall more in that genre of wrestling viewers. So I agree. I think it would be a fun idea. Now, what are they going to do that? I don't know. Maybe they can, I'm sure they could bring in ODB. I'm sure they could bring in Eric Young. But, is there any travel restrictions going on with coronavirus? I'm sure that takes into account. Professional wrestling, I think, right now has been affected on a whole, as far as, especially with 9 new states are saying are having spikes in reported cases. I'm not saying more deaths are happening, but there are more reported cases of coronavirus. So,
but here's the thing. I still like the idea of a callback. That is the best way to do it. However, I would say if for some reason, like that's the number one idea, but if they just absolutely can't and they're still going to do the Knockouts title, I still say try to some way do a throwback. If maybe ODB, since he's in the States, can come in with the titles, and to me, when wrestling can't go the way you want it to go, I always say, if you can, just tell the truth. Say, ODB comes out, me and Eric are going to make a big comeback tonight and defend these titles, but because of coronavirus, he can't travel, and so unfortunately we're going to have to relinquish these championships. And everyone's like, what? It's been years since you know what I mean?
That would be good too.
Still do the callback, and then even then maybe she could have a surprise partner. They could bring in someone, and so that way she could still make the attempt, but at least do the callback of if anything, just an appearance, a one-off, so they can bring it back, and they're like, oh, so they did have the titles the whole time. You know what I mean? It still plays up the story, even though it's not the peak of what you would want. It still at least is as a high level callback, and it's still better than just bringing back the titles out of the blue and people are left wondering, well, what the heck happened?
If they're gonna do it, should they at least announce something a week before, some sort of teaser video, or that they're gonna show up to maybe get more people to purchase or tune into the pay-per-view? Or is that something that, because of maybe the level of their quote unquote celebrity, it wouldn't make as much of, no pun intended, an impact? It all depends. So I think they've done a good job at hyping a lot of surprises for the pay-per-view. So personally, I feel like from that standpoint, they would still be a high-level surprise. So I personally, if I was booking, would say I would want to save that for the pay-per-view, because they've done a good job hyping the matches that they are working towards, and that there's going to be surprises. So I would say, because they've teased there's going to be a lot of surprises at the pay-per-view, personally, I wouldn't announce anybody. I'd still continue to tease,
things, but I wouldn't necessarily outright say so-and-so is going to for sure be here, so-and-so is going to for sure be here. Now, here's the thing. It's up to Impact on the pay-per-view to make sure at least a couple of the surprises are surprises that are good enough to make fans say, okay, I'm glad I paid my hard-earned money to watch this show. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're going to get some grand surprise and then it turns out being not nearly to the level that you were thinking the surprise was going to be. But I feel like Eric and ODB are higher level surprises. I do. If they were the only surprises, I do think there might be some fans that feel like, hey, I was expecting to see, a former, WCW or, WWF guy, whatever. But at the same time, I think they definitely could be one of a few surprises that people would leave feeling really satisfied and excited that they got to see them, and especially with the callback for fans that have been watching the product for X amount of years and knew the original story.
I agreed. So let's get now into the Impact Wrestling review. We'll get right in here. Shout out to Jahali8669 in the chat room. Yeah, guys, if you were watching this on Horseman, I asked Ben to also host this stream as well, obviously, because we are generally live there. So you could be watching it on twitch.tv Conspiracy Horseman right now, or you could be directly live with us in the chat as well on twitch.tv/Hami Media Group. Either way, as long as you're watching it, that's all we care, guys. So we appreciate you joining us. Also, guys, let's start this tag team matchup. That's how Impact started. We have Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary taking on, I guess you might say, good and evil, or because you've got.
No, they're all good.
Oh, they're all good.
Susie's
I'm sorry.
Good.
She's good. I'm
Kylie
sorry.
Ray's pretty good.
She's Kylie Ray's.
She's all good. No bad.
No bad.
Only
no
good.
Bad. So it's Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie taking on Kylie Ray and Susie. Rosemary and Susie kind of start off this matchup. Rosemary gets in Susie's face, kind of yells at her, says, you're an idiot for turning good after everything we did to bring back your powers. And Dr. Ted to catch you up there a couple months back in the midst of a huge rivalry between Rosemary and Havoc and Su Yung, all orchestrated by the Devil's favorite son, Dr. James Mitchell. They had already killed off Allie, and the attempt was they had going to kill off Susie as well. They got rid of her, so they killed her off, but then she came back as this character.
Susie, yes.
Sorry, Su Yung dies, and she came back as the Susie. Then they did get her powers back, but now she's kind of going back to the Susie character once more. So that's what Rosemary's referring to there. And for those who maybe haven't been watching Impact Wrestling, Rosemary felt like she finally
Sorry, can I ask, is Susie and Su Yung and Rosemary, they were a team or they were rivals?
Both.
Okay, gotcha.
That's their history.
So they've gone through the story.
They've gone through the ringer, yeah. So, but ultimately it ended the last time with Susie or Su Yung at that point, Rosemary and Havoc finally getting rid of James Mitchell. Like, kind of come to that realization, he's the one playing the puppet master against us all here. And they kind of got rid of him. So once they got rid of him, then after Susie being turned back into Su Yung, then reverted back now to Susie. So that's what Rosemary's referring to. We finally got your powers back, and then you still went back to being this goody two-shoe. So there's a catch-up for you. A little confusing. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. Okay. That makes sense. I'm following.
All right, so Susie rolls Rosemary up 3 times initially for a pin after Rosemary attempted a flying monkey flip. And then Rosemary got her shoulders up each time. Susie tagged in Kylie Ray. Before Susie was able to leave the ring, Susie slapped Rosemary, then heads back to her corner. Rosemary tags in Valkyrie. Valkyrie and Ray lock up in a head scissors. They go back and forth. I thought all 4 women worked really well in the ring. It felt like they had some good chemistry as far as the match itself. Closer toward the end of the match, though, we see Susie near the ring post. Rosemary locks in the upside down on Susie. Ray gets back in. Ray sends Rosemary across the ring, and then Rosemary rises back up. Valkyrie gets back in. Ray locks in the STF, which she calls Smile to the finish, and then Valkyrie taps. So surprisingly, Kylie Ray makes Taya Valkyrie, Loera Loca, tap out. I thought this was an upset. What did you think of this match?
It was all about the finish, and I thought, based on what the stories they've been telling with the tease between Rosemary and Johnny Bravo, as soon as that played into the finish and Johnny was telling Taya she's hurt, and it led into the, Taya getting tapped out by Kylie Ray, I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly the catalyst that we need to now there's a real issue, because Johnny Bravo has caused Taya Valkyrie to lose. So now that's going to cause a rift between them, which in turn, we found Rosemary's trying to entangle Johnny Bravo into her web, so to speak. So it seems like a perfect opportunity for Rosemary to possibly bring Johnny Bravo to the dark side. I don't know where they're going with it. I'm already thinking of possibilities. If they are building a knockouts division, to me, or a knockouts tag team division rather, or rebuilding it, I think it would be an interesting twist if perhaps they brought in if Rosemary were entangled Johnny Bravo and maybe utilize him to start talking to Susie and coercing her back to the entangled back to the dark side, and potentially being some kind of gimmick there where I'd be curious to see how they maybe make Johnny Bravo that like an evil little troll or something like that they could have as part of their sinister group, versus vice versa. Then at that point, if she were to bring Sue Young to the dark side again, then Taya Valkyrie potentially could do something as a team with Kylie Ray. I feel like they're very different too, where you have Taya Valkyrie as kind of the more bougie, hoity-toity type of girl versus Kylie's Ray's the more fun. I feel like they might have a good chemistry as like an oddball tag team. Is the girl that's the prima donna versus the girl that's the every girl everyone wants to hang out with girl. You know what I mean? And again, I'm just spitballing. This is the first thing I thought of. Certainly, I think really all these women could be their own breakout stars as single stars too. But if you're rebuilding a tag division, then there's some interesting stories that can already be told that, even more importantly, can be just as interesting, if not more interesting, than actually going after the championships. Because that's the thing. If you can get people interested enough into your story that the championships don't matter, that's even better, because then you're if anything, your character is then more elevated than the title is, because people are more interested in seeing that than necessarily seeing who's going to win that championship. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the story sometimes is more important than anything else, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter what type of championship you get. Even if you win or lose, you can just become a star just based off, the story itself and everything that builds up to it. So I don't disagree. I think that's hugely important in this, especially with all these character type of performers. They all really have their own style of character that they're trying to position themselves as. So don't disagree, man. Definitely. For moving on to the next match, Matthews and Rain then run kind of through tonight's card, along with some matches announced for Slammiversary. So now we're back.
Oh,
go ahead.
I got one last thing. I got one last beef on that match. So I thought great, drives me crazy. Then that's me being a nitpicky thing based on how I was trained, but I cannot stand the lack of hot tags that we have. And by that, so if people are more inclined to be excited for a tag with the heels almost stop the baby faces from making the tag. But once again, and I'm not just harping just on these women, because I see it really in all the companies everywhere, but when you have the heels and the baby faces tag at the same time and they're at the maximum distance all the way across the ring, there's no threat. There's no excitement in part of that. The excitement is the heels almost stop the baby faces from making that final tag, but the baby faces are managing to make that one last bit of effort to finally make the hot tag, and boom, then it's right there because the heels almost took it away. And the threat of that tag being taken away makes it thus more exciting. However, when they tag at the exact same time, granted, it was fine for what it was, but it wasn't nearly as exciting of a conclusion and a final stretch that they could have had if they just would have had the heels tag first and get close to the baby faces. Again, that's just me being nitpicky wrestling person, but at the same time, come on, someone do a real hot tag. Do a real hot tag. I promise it'll be that much better. All right, now you can continue, MSG. Yeah, my soapbox is finished.
Well, to play on that, there was actually a segment on this week's Being the Elite that I was going to go more in depth on, but you can go watch, and then you'll be informed to hear about the conversation tomorrow on Light the Fuse, where the Young Bucks give Brandon Cutler, and Peter Avalon kind of like a test on what it takes to be a successful tag team, and they talk about hot tags and whatnot. So go check that out, guys.
I will have to check that out. You know me, I'm a tag team nerd or tag team wrestling nerd. So yeah, I will check that out.
And of course, you are the original Elite. So that's the record there, guys. Anyway,
that is true. But I'm not sending any cease and desist letters. To be clear.
Well, somebody who might need to send a cease and desist letter to is Suicide.
We're offline, MSG.
Oh, we are. It says we're live.
For my feed.
It says
maybe we are live.
It says we're live still. I'm
I'll take your
hardwired.
word. Hey, I'll take your word for it. I'll say my technology's bad. I just saw mine.
I'm hardwired in, so I don't know why we'd be off. But yes, so I was gonna say someone needs to send a cease and desist letters. Potentially, it's gonna be suicide based on Swinger's actions tonight. Because we go backstage and we've got Johnny Swinger and Chris Bay, and Chris Bay, he's a little upset with Johnny Swinger that he got himself banned from ringside for this upcoming match against Willie Mack at Slammiversary for the X Division Championship. Because of course the agreement being that they would tag and be associates on the groundwork that Johnny Swinger would help Chris Bay reach that gold. However, Swinger says that of course, Daddy, he's always got a plan. Tells Chris Bay to go grab a protein shake and see if he can change Impact management and referees' minds. This is going to lead into the next segment here. Did you want me to just kind of go over the segments of Johnny Swinger, or do you want me to kind of go in order here of the show? What do you think?
Let's keep it in order, but this did set up a really funny pre-tape for later that we'll get back to in just a little bit. But this was an ongoing theme, and I like when they do this, when they set up these little backstage stories that continue to develop throughout the evening and eventually lead into an in-ring segment. And this was just the start of a series of stories that Johnny Swinger was telling. And so the viewer was left to question, what plan does Johnny Swinger, or is Johnny Swinger going to come up with in order to help Chris Bay? And this was the start of that story being told. So it was entertaining, but it was really just a setup for the hijinks that were to continue later on in the show.
Yeah, they definitely set up the thread with Johnny Swinger early on right here in the as far as the initial opening of the show here after this match. Threaded again later on, and then it concludes with him having a match. So, I mean, to Impact's credit tonight, they definitely told a very good story throughout the show with Johnny Swinger and his quest to try and get to ringside. But who knows, based on what happened tonight, he could, because, Mac looked a little confused later, but I'm jumping ahead. So let's talk about the tag team four-way match that happened up next. We've got some big boys in this match as well. We've got TJP and Fallah Bahh taking on Reno Scum, taking on Double XL, AC Romero, and Larry D, taking on the Daners. In a four-way tag team match that eventually will ultimately break down into two teams fighting. But to start off the match, we've got all four teams as they're all brawling with each other. Cousin Jake flips off the top rope and sends TJP to Fallah Bahh on the outside of the ring. Then Cousin Jake takes flight on all seven men who are on the outside. We come back from break. We see Thorsto has Cody Deaner cornered. Thorsto keeps Deaner down with multiple kicks. Luster then comes in briefly before Thorsto makes his way back in. He headbutts Deaner, then locks him in a full Melson. Thorsto then rubs his underarm across Deaner's face. Eventually, though, this all breaks down. Now all four teams are simultaneously making their way into the ring. So they're all brawling in the ring together. And eventually, we see TJP and Fallah Bahh and Reno Scum spin off as they're fighting up the ramp. They fight to the backstage. So technically, they left the match after this. And now we've just got Double XL taking on the Daners. And ultimately, Cody Deaner takes care of Romero toward the end of the match while Cousin Jake knocks the win out of Larry D's sail with a powerful tackle. And then Cousin Jake covers Larry D and wins the match. So the winner of this match, another surprising match, another match I didn't expect to see these guys be the victors of. The Daners, they get a much needed victory here in the tag team division as, while the pandemic began and they were doing all the vignettes, they didn't really have a lot of in-ring action, and there was a lot of focus more on Cody as a character. So it's good to see them have that character and I guess entertainment translate into the ring for them to be successful here in this match.
Absolutely.
What did you think of the match itself?
You said it was a surprise. Who did you think was going to win?
I thought that TJP and Fallah Bahh would win this match.
Yeah, they have been kind of pushing them a little bit, and especially after the win they got last week. But my take on it, though, is really out of all the teams, the team that I feel like you could describe the easiest would probably be the Deaners. And to me, that's all about they understand their character and they know what their gimmick is versus the other teams. I still think they're trying to really get their who they are down and find their chemistry as far as who they are as a tag team. XXL is the big guys, the big fat guys, but then they wrestle and they do a couple moves that are relevant to their size, but otherwise they just wrestle. And same thing with Reno Scum. They'll come out and they're these punk guys, and then they just wrestle. And same thing with TJ. Like I want to know more about who these characters are. And I thought amongst the wrestling, there could have been opportunities for them to show more chemistry and more character. But instead, I felt really I didn't feel overly invested in this match simply because it just seemed like it was just moves for the sake of doing moves. Now, I do think the Deaners winning was probably the best call, simply because I feel like as a viewer, I can identify who they are as characters more than anyone else, and thus I'm more likely to either get behind them or find a reason not to like them. And in this case, obviously, they're baby faces, so they're made them come across as being the good old boys that found a way to win. And it seems like they're going to spin off potentially Reno Scum with TJP and Follow By. I just hope with those teams especially that they really do more as far as exploring who these teams are as characters and make us care about why these teams are going to have a match. Because otherwise, honestly, no one's going to give a shit about Reno Scum and TJP and Follow By unless they give us a reason to care about who these people are as characters. It's just going to be a match, and I'm sure they can have a great match. I'm sure they can have a really good match, but are people going to pay to see that match is the question. And they have a lot more work to do, at least as far as a character development standpoint goes, in order to make us care about really any of these teams. But out of all of them, I feel like the Deaners the most have found who they are as characters, and thus giving people more of a reason to watch. And that's just my 2 cents.
No, I agree. That's a good old point. Sorry about that. I'm just looking in the Twitch chat when they were saying that the video was frozen, but the audio is good. And I'm not sure why, guys. I apologize. I could end the stream, but then if I end the stream, I've got to restart the stream. So I don't necessarily want to do that. So hopefully it will adjust here. I might have been, because I think I was closing out something here, and I might have accidentally opened Premiere. So I think maybe that started to kill the bandwidth or whatnot, the latency of the video. So that's my apologies if that's what happened. However, if you can still hear us, we appreciate you still checking us out here on the Impact Tech right here, twitch.tv/Hummy Media Group, and of course on hackerhummy.podbean.com. So that was, as you mentioned, the winners of the match, the Deaners. Now post-match, we do see Reno Scum and TJP continuing to brawl kind of backstage, with eventually with TJP coming off of a what are these keys? I guess a lift? Is that what it was? He was standing on, or a cart?
Yeah, something like that.
So he comes off the car, lift and kind of takes out all 3 guys and whatnot.
Oh yeah, and that was fine. But then they did the thing. So MSG, imagine you're in a fight, and you and your buddy, let's say it's me and you, we're in a bar fight, and we're fighting these guys. At any point, do you feel in the middle of an actual fight, you would say, hey, Ted, I'm going to get in this garbage can with a chair. Why don't you roll me towards them and I will slowly hit them in the head with a chair and see how much damage it does. That's the part where it's like it was a cool spot, but it was not the right time to do it. I was fine with the spot, but this was, you all are fighting off and really having a fight. Hey, I'm going to get in a garbage can and push me towards them. And, it's like that I thought was a bit ridiculous. And it took, as a viewer, and again, I try to always watch this. If I'm a viewer watching, I felt like as a viewer, it kind of took me out of them actually fighting. I said, okay, this is just hokey stuff. This isn't, they really must not be mad at each other if he's rolling someone in a trash can at a relatively slow speed, mind you. I say he didn't really even get much, and it looked like on the second one the whole can tipped over, and it was just like, was that spot really necessary? I felt like, especially given that, I was actually interested to see where they were going with it, but as soon as they did that, it kind of took me out of it, if I'm being honest. But that doesn't mean that they can't, do things to make people care. It's just more so that they got to choose. Is this going to be a hokey angle, or is this going to be one that's more seems realistic? And you got to choose one or the other, and you got to play it to its height. If they're going to go hokey with it, then make it as completely hokey and over the top as you possibly can, and make it cheesy and campy and entertaining. If you're going to make it realistic, then make it as realistic as possible, and do things that are going to make people think, oh shit, the rest of the show is fake, but this is real. You got to choose one or the other and play it to the height of what you possibly can play it up to make people invest. So I'm not saying one or the other is bad, but you can't do both, because then nothing's going to get accomplished, and it's going to get lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean?
Right. As you like to point out, you can't have multiple different angles at a conclusion of a match, if you will, because then no business gets done, right?
Yeah.
So Great. Well, while Swinger here now, this is the next funny part of Johnny Swinger's master plan. So Johnny Swinger is trying to come up with a plan how he can sneak into Chris Bay's match at Slammiversary. He finds some costumes lying around. The first one he finds is a Super Eric costume, which was a nice little breadcrumb there about Eric Young.
So I like that. And then he said, he's like, cool horns, but well, maybe I'll use it in the hotel room later, or something like that. I popped for that. It was like, what? Stupid.
And then he finds Suicide's costume and he puts the mask on. And Johnny Swinger is
but did not take his bandana off either, which I thought also popped me too. He took his glasses off and then he put the mask on and then he put the glasses back on.
Yeah, it was a great segment here. So Johnny Swinger is going to be roaming around the backstage locker room here as Suicide. Before we got that, they did their Impact flashback moment of the week. It was Tara and Angelina Love taking on the Beautiful People for the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship back in 2010. And I don't want to necessarily go into the match, but when I see these type of clips, and I've been watching Impact since its inception, since 2002, and I just remember, man, like this crowd was packed. There was huge live crowds at the height of TNA's viewership when they were getting that 1.5 to 2 million viewers, and they were selling out crowds with 5 to 10,000 people, packed houses and stuff like that. And it's just interesting with all the changes that they went through and where they are now. But I think if you look at wrestling as a whole, all attendance numbers are down. So I don't know if I can necessarily say it's all Impact's fault.
Right. And well, there are certainly some things over the years that I felt like from a business and managing standpoint, things kind of fell through. I feel like they finally have a good infrastructure now. And so I'm just hopeful that they can ride out the tide through. That is the storm, that is the environment we're living in right now in 2020 in a post-pandemic world, or a current pandemic world, I guess. But I feel like hopefully they can overcome this bit of time right now with the proper booking. And like I said, I think they have the right infrastructure now that hopefully they can come back into prominence, perhaps get on a better network and become and just as relevant as WWE or AEW again. I think they have some work to do, certainly, but I think they have all the tools and the people to be able to do that, and I'm hopeful that they will. And it seems like, from my perspective, they're at least heading in the right direction overall. Even though I'm being nitpicky over certain things, I think overall that they're moving the right direction with things.
Oh, I would agree. I've seen the feedback from a lot of people online that have, who have just maybe started to recently get back into Impact Wrestling. And the consensus I've been reading is it's a good show, that, what they're doing as far as putting together video packages, which we'll talk about here, and, the backstage segments, and, threading the needle, like taking the story from beginning to end on each show and having some sort of even conclusion or to be continued to the next week's show. They're giving you little cliffhangers or leaving you wanting more to have you come back. It doesn't feel like a children's show where there's a bad guy at the beginning and at the end, and by the end everyone's holding hands and happy. And I'm not going to point out one wrestling show and say that they're doing that, but there have been instances, at least in my viewing experience over the last couple of years, where I felt like I've watched a wrestling show and they've kind of just not given me a reason to come back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But another person who can come and go anywhere as he pleases is Sami Callihan. Dr. Teddie, as we go to a backstage interaction with Ken Shamrock. He's looking for his future tag team partner. For those who are maybe just joining Impact Wrestling, getting caught up, based on last week's, I guess you might say, alliance, Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock are now going to be tagging together and taking on the North for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championship at Slammiversary. So Shamrock goes looking for Sami here. And I like this because I like how Sami used the whole technology and aspect of the hacker gimmick where he presses the button or his logo, he comes in, they have the interaction. Shamrock tells Callihan if he needs his help tonight, he'll be there. Callihan rejects the offer, says that, if maybe he wanted to be the one that actually takes Ken Shamrock out, which that could have been a reason why he saved Shamrock from the North last week. Maybe he really does want to be a tag team champion with Ken Shamrock, and they could be the world's most dangerous team. Shamrock says he likes the sound of that, and then Callihan hits the button on his phone, and the segment ends. Thought this was really good. What did you think of this?
Yeah, it was a good catalyst to set up again the main event and the conclusion of it, as well as the inevitable match that we're going to have in a couple weeks at Slammiversary, and giving people a reason to watch to see, are these two going to come together, or is this going to just be, pun intended, the ultimate disaster for Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the dynamic between the two. I mean, the odd couple, right, pairing, if you will, where you got two guys who are engaged in a bit of a rivalry now having to come together. They'll probably most likely beat the North because Impact has been putting over on the last 2-3 shows. The North are the longest reigning champs. So at some point,
Right.
If they're putting over that much, that leads me to believe it's going to come to an end. So if you
Right.
put Callihan and Shamrock together, then eventually they'll implode, and then they'll even spin out again once more in their feud between each other, right? So I like it.
Although I'm still a nerd for Ben's idea, as much as ridiculous and cheesy as it is, but the thought of Sami Callihan finding a way to hack into the brain of Ken Shamrock and having a way to control him, I think, you could do so much with that over the years. And I think I was on the Monday locker room, or maybe it wasn't, but Ben had joked, then afterwards you say, Ken Shamrock has the device that makes him turn into under control, and it gets knocked off, say, and then he becomes normal again, and then someone walks up and picks it up, and that's where Ben said you could bring back Grado and put it on, and then now he's under some robot control for like, what do you do with that? How do you control him? But something ridiculous like that, you could then continue to play with the idea long afterwards. After, mind you, the more, I guess, not realistic, but the more serious part of the angle has taken place, then you can take the premise and start having fun with it. But you want to play up the more high level, again, not necessarily realistic, but more seriousness of it first, and then afterwards you can start playing with the premise and doing more fun things with it. But if they go straight from to ridiculous, and he's making Ken Shamrock juggle and do cartwheels, then we're done. I don't think Sami would do that. I think he's a lot smarter than that. But just for instance, if they were just to have something ridiculous like that, then yes, that would kill the whole angle. If he starts going under control of Ken Shamrock, and Ken Shamrock's just starting to take people out left and right that Sami Callihan doesn't like, then we're dealing with something that potentially could be really cool. Then it's like, then the story is, what needs to happen to get Ken Shamrock out of Sami Callihan's control? And that becomes the catalyst that people want to see that conclusion and how it's going to take place. So they're probably not going to go with that angle, even though I really secretly wish they do. But it just more so just spitballing on where they possibly could go with it. But long story short, I agree. I think the way they're building it up, I think inevitably it is going to lead to Sami and Ken Shamrock somehow coming together to become the new champs.
Well, another champion was in action tonight, and that was Jordynne Grace, as she took on Kimberly up next. And Kimberly kind of wanted to test her strength against Jordynne Grace to get things going. But Grace overpowers Lee to the mat. Lee does kick out of a pinning bridge attempt. Grace looks for the Grace driver early on, but Lee counters it by biting her fingers. And then Grace then smashes Lee into the corner, pushes Lee up against the ropes, setting her up for a spine buster. Then afterwards, she went for a cover after connecting with it. Lee kicked out. Lee then found herself more in the defense with the unique Nelson submission hold. I don't know what this was called. But after the hold, it's broken. Grace fires back up with a scoop slam, followed by a driver. Crawls on top for another cover. Lee kicks out once more.
No. Two scoop slams.
Oh, two
and then a
slams.
Michinoku driver.
Sorry.
And then an immediate kick out, because I about lost my shit when I saw that. Although I should have expected it. But it's like, it's just ridiculous. So either Kimberly is the toughest, one of the toughest women they have on the entire roster, or what's her name?
Jordynne Grace.
Jordynne Grace is one of the weakest. I don't think either of those scenarios is what they were going for. But let's recap. Jordynne Grace gives Kimberly a scoop slam, and then a Michinoku driver, and then Kimberly immediately kicks out. So either Jordynne Grace's moves must not be very strong, or Kimberly is one tough bitch. Neither one of those, obviously, based on the finish, was the business they were going for. The business was to put over Jordynne Grace as an unstoppable force. And they completely went against that by having that spot take place. But I digress.
Well, as you mentioned, Lee kicked out. Lee then was able to kick Grace a couple times. She connected with a Swanton bomb, went for a cover, but Grace kicked out. And then she found some brass knuckles, put them on, that being Lee. Well, Grace stopped her from being hit with, or Grace stopped Lee from connecting with the brass knuckles, and then she sent Lee out with the Grace driver, and this time she won, so she did win with the Grace driver. But I guess what we're learning over the last couple weeks is if you do a couple moves before your finisher, it doesn't work, but then when you do your finisher, it works. Is that what I'm assuming?
Yeah, and you have to do your finish multiple times, apparently every time. You know, you don't save it for the big pay-per-view when it actually could be more meaningful in doing it once or twice a year rather than every single television show. But you know, what do I know? I find the whole idea of the thing is, it is actually, I'm actually okay with, on a rare occasion, the finish does get kicked out of. But when you do it every week on TV, it starts to lose its meaning after a while. Again, if this happened, at Slammiversary, she kicked out of the Michinoku driver, and that's the first time it happened all year, then that's holy shit. That's a cool moment. That's something that people don't expect. But it's otherwise it's ridiculous in my opinion. But again, that's just, I acknowledge that just I'm biased based on the way that I was trained by Rip Rogers, but at the same time, I still can't help but believe that they could have done a lot more to elevate themselves without bearing the moves. But that's my soapbox.
No, I think people like the soapbox. That's why you're here, man. I mean, they want the truth from the doctor Ted himself. They want to hear what you have to say. So, I mean, I don't think that's anything wrong with it.
I can't help it. I can't sugarcoat it, MSG. I am who I am.
I am who I am because I am who I am. All right. Well, after the post-match, I would say here in this case, because it kind of was a little bit of a quick match, that the business here was the, I guess, continuing story between the virtuoso Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace. As Purrazzo's music hits, they make you assume that she's going to be coming out. She doesn't. She appears on the video wall. And something that I noticed when they went to this, maybe it's been the pandemic or whatnot. Maybe it's because there's no audience there, so that they have the whole arena lit. But I'm really been impressed with their stage setup. I really liked this, how the video appeared in the middle of this video wall, and then just the triangular formation of the video wall itself. I really liked how it appeared. But Deonna Purrazzo, she says that she's not going to come out to the ring and give Jordynne Grace the satisfaction of having the virtuoso there. That she's not going to see Jordynne Grace until Slammiversary. So it looks like we're not going to have them even touching until Slammiversary. Did you like this post-match package?
I like the idea of them not touching again until the show, although I also feel like it's a misnomer. I feel like she purposely said that she's not going to touch her jumping.
Sorry, you broke
Jordynne
up
Grace
there. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah. So what I'm saying is I like the idea that she set up, they're not going to touch till Slammiversary, although I feel like it's a misnomer because I think inevitably it's just setting up Jordynne Grace getting jumped by Deonna Purrazzo next week. But I have to be honest here. I can't say that I fully believed that Deonna believed what she was saying to Jordynne Grace, and that I don't feel Deonna necessarily believes fully anyway her character. I felt like a lot of stuff she was saying was a lot of what I call caricature lines, and that's basically like lines that one would expect, like I'm the greatest, I'm the best, you'll never defeat me, just some of the sing song stuff we hear in the same kind of same promos, like where people say week in and week out I did this and people said I couldn't, and now they're saying, what I mean, like some of the old tropes that you said. I felt like it was a lot of old tropes. Now that being said, it was not bad. And I want to be clear here. I think she is a hell of a talent. I think has a hell of a potential. I would want her to really dig deep and really become entrenched in who she is as a character. So that way, once she gets to the point that she believes the stuff she's saying, it's going to come across the television screen and really capture the viewers more. Not saying that she's not getting viewers interested in what she's doing and in this feud she's having with Jordynne Grace, but I think it could absolutely be elevated if she was able to get more into the character that she's portraying. But that's just my 2 cents. And maybe I'm wrong on this. Feel free if people disagree and feel like she's absolutely killing it right now. Please let me know and let me know how she's doing it. I just personally am not seeing, like, there was no part that I felt this girl, she has it, and I have to see this match. I just can't say I felt that after seeing the segment. Again, it was fine. It wasn't bad, but I also felt like it didn't necessarily capture me and make me want to invest my hard-earned money to go and see this match. At least not yet, in my opinion.
Okay, that's a fair point. It wasn't necessarily, I guess, really any heat, right, that was built on her package. She just kind of delivered a message. It was more, I mean, if you were trying, I guess, to state that there was, I guess, Jordynne Grace getting upset, her post-match, it kind of looked like she was going to have a temper tantrum after Deonna Purrazzo said she won't come down there, I won't see her. So, I mean, a little bit of mind games for sure, I guess, that's maybe what they were going for in the part of the storyline. But it definitely didn't hype up anything. I agree with you there. It didn't hype up as much as the next thing we saw, which was the video package. I really liked it here, which was with Eddie Edwards, Ace Austin, and Trey. And I think that
incredible.
Yeah, and I think based on that, maybe they have been getting some returning Impact viewers, or you've getting some newer viewers itself. They kind of really gave you an in-depth background on all three wrestlers heading into this match, telling the story of Eddie Edwards and him getting taken out with the baseball bat and Sami Callihan, and how that ultimately progressed into him kind of losing his friends and then his wife for a period of time, and his ultimate goal of still looking to regain the Impact World title. You've got Ace Austin, who is, the youngest X Division champion. And I thought it was interesting they did the comparisons to AJ Styles. I hadn't really heard that. I was more or less thinking character-wise like a Shawn Michaels. But I guess from an in-ring perspective, wrestling perspective, they did a good job kind of showcasing his phenomenal traits, if you will.
Saying, and probably considering AJ Styles is an alum of Impact and not Shawn Michaels, that makes sense that they, do that. I agree with you. I'm feeling more old school Shawn Michaels Diesel vibes, but at the same time, based on the company's history, it makes sense.
That's a good clarification. And then Trey, they showed. Maybe I haven't been paying attention, and I've been watching Impact for a while, man. I didn't realize Trey blinged out his teeth. So that was new. But he delivered a pretty good impassioned promo as well in his video package about, I guess from his perspective, it doesn't even look like he really wants the Impact World Championship. For him, it's about going after Ace Austin in this match. So that tells me that I think either Eddie Edwards is going to win this match or the person that's going to be returning, because I think that Ace Austin and Trey are going to end up taking each other out. What do you think?
I absolutely think I think for sure it all depends. I think the mystery person, whoever that is going to be the big surprise of the person that's going to end up taking the championship. I just feel like it. I don't feel, again, they've done enough to make me believe that any of these other three guys, this is necessarily their time at the top. I think they all three could, if the story and the characters all align correctly and there was enough time to build up their story to the championship. I just don't see it being there yet. But yes, I could definitely see the spinoff happening. And the one thing I wanted to mention is I thought this was an incredible package. I couldn't help but notice how long this package was.
It was a little long.
Really, it was an entire segment, really. And it's not a bad thing. I thought it was really well done. And this, if it was anything, was better than what they otherwise would have put out. I couldn't help but think that perhaps this was originally probably a segment with Joey Ryan that then had to be, recut and edited. But I thought this was way better than potentially. I mean, obviously they weren't going to go for that angle anyway, but this made the World Championship seem that much more important, and did make me care more about wanting to see this match. Which I'm not going to lie, if you would have told me last week, am I really excited about seeing the championship world title match? I think not so much. This, though, with the background, and again, it gave me what I wanted. It made me invest in the characters and who these people are as gimmicks and characters to make me want to see this match. So to that end, I thought it was very well done, and I thought it did absolutely do the business in making me care and want to see what's going to take place in this championship match.
Yeah, agreed. I thought it was a really good hype package, and I think last week I would have said the same thing. I would have been like, it could be a good match, but they haven't really done anything to hype it up, and this video package certainly helps. And hopefully whoever this mystery partner is also adds that, last little bit of emphasis to the match itself. Now we see Johnny Swinger in the backstage running around wearing the suicide costume, which is really funny because it doesn't fit. So it's got this rip down the middle now, and you can see his chest and whatnot. So he's walking around. Willie Mack bumps into him. He says he's excited about their match later tonight, and Swinger is confused because Willie Mack has to explain to him that, based on last week's events with Ultimate Finesse, Chris Bay, and Swinger, or first he says whatever that guy's name is, and Swinger has to kind of turn his head to the side, lift up the mask, and be like, he's Swinger, he's 44, but that's kayfabe, brother. And
yeah, because he called him like an old, that old weird guy, and he's like, his name's Johnny Swinger, 44 kayfabe, or something like that, and he's 44 kayfabe.
Right.
I said I popped for that. That got me.
But Willie Mack says, yeah, because of the events of last week, he's giving Suicide an X Division Championship match. So he'll see him later in the ring. And, of course, Swinger is a little upset because I don't think he wanted to be in this match. So, again, another, layer in the story here. Now you've got Johnny Swinger, who's going to be in Suicide costume, taking on Willie Mack for the X Division Championship match. So I thought this was nice because even we'll get to the match later, but, thinking after this segment, I was like, oh, wow. Could Johnny Swinger actually win the X Division title tonight? Throw a wrench in this whole Chris Bay versus Willie Mack scenario. So I thought that was an interesting wrinkle that kind of gave you the viewer the idea that it could happen,
Right.
So I liked how this was presented. What did you think of this package, or as far as the interaction?
Well, I agree. I liked it. It made me excited for the match. It gave you more reason to be invested in these characters as it forward. I still have to believe that this is leading to some degree towards an eventual six-person tag team match. My dream booking would be to bring in Glenn Gilberti as the second guy with Swinger and Chris Bay, and have him do the old vets with the new kid type of angle against the Deaners and Willie Mack. But I think for what this was in building the story and the eventual match that we were to see between Swinger's side and Willie Mack, I thought this was a good little setup, and I didn't even think about that. But yeah, as a viewer, absolutely, this would imply that potentially we're going to see a championship change tonight. And what the heck kind of a championship run could it possibly be if Johnny Swinger, of all people, wins the X Division championship? So I think that is, is an interesting turn that potentially could have been taken, but made people intrigued to want to see that match and thus more invested in seeing that match. But it's all because they cared about the character of Johnny Swinger and what the heck would a championship reign in that division look like. And because he's done such a good job with character, it made people like yourself really care about possibly wanting to see that take place.
Yeah, I thought this was good. And then after that, now we've got another backstage segment with Madison Rayne as she welcomes for the first time the greatest knockouts champion of all time herself to the locker room. So she starts off this locker room by kind of just interviewing herself and asking her, about her upcoming potentially, I guess she's going to be competing now in the Knockouts Gauntlet match. She's going to leave her journalistic desk and retry and take her throne as the queen of the Knockouts division. Now, in the midst of interviewing herself, she's interrupted by Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, and they kind of chastise her a little bit, make her feel down or kind of a loser, if you will, that she has to be by herself interviewing herself. Then Havoc and Novea show up. They come into the room, and a brawl ensues, and it breaks out. And what pops me the most, though, is at the end, Madison Rayne on the ground looking into the camera going, all right, guys, that's it for another edition of the Locker Room Talk. We'll see you next week. I was like, brilliant. I loved it. I loved this whole segment. What did you think?
I thought it was good. This was all to hype the Battle Royal, and this was it served multiple masters, but the whole spotlight, the whole business was only one piece of business always. It was to sell the Battle Royal, but they were able to get that one piece of business and still inform people that Madison Rayne was coming back to in-ring competition for this match. And don't forget, Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan still have a lot of issues with Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh, and they're still going at it. So it let people know that they still have an ongoing issue. Madison Rayne is coming back, and we're going to have a women's Battle Royal, if I remember right, Knockouts Battle Royal at the pay-per-view, which ultimately was what they were selling for this segment.
Yeah, I want to say it's either they're calling it like a gauntlet or a battle
or
royal.
a gauntlet. That's right. It was some sort of multi-women match that's going to take place at Slammiversary, and so it like I said, it made different storyline threads continue while still selling one piece of business, and that was this match. And so in a short amount of time too, and what was this? Not even a 1 minute segment. They were able to get all that across, and I thought it was very well done. Madison always does an excellent job with her character work, and so I'm always glad whenever she has an opportunity to do some of that on Impact. So this was just another classic example of she has a very good ability to steal the scenes that they put her in, and kudos to really all of them for making this segment. It was really entertaining.
At one point, when they were showing Josh Matthews and Madison Rayne talking, like running down the card, like she looked over at Josh or whatever, and she goes, "Don't touch me," and that popped me really hard. I was like, "That's awesome."
Yeah, I like that.
So after this locker room thing, they did something with Hernandez, and I think just looking at the whole context of the show and from an entertainment standpoint, this was probably my favorite segment, and it was like less than 30 seconds.
So yeah, this was even shorter.
Yeah, and it's just Hernandez. He's backstage, and he gets done with his arm wrestling contest against some other guy, and that guy loses. He leaves. He's counting his money, and then as he's counting his money, Rhino shows up. They both look at each other. The music hits. They lock arms, and then as the arm wrestling contest starts and they're struggling, the big text comes on the screen and goes, "To be continued." And I was like, "Oh, really? I love this.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see Rhino and Hernandez arm wrestle. This is gonna be awesome."
And it comes down to storytelling, man. Simple storytelling. So it had the heat. You saw, all right, Hernandez is just beating people backstage because you just saw him beat whoever and take his money. So, Hernandez is just whooping ass in arm wrestling, and then someone steps up to challenge the ass whooper that looks like he can take him, but you got to tune in next week to find out. Perfect. I agree. I'm extremely interested to see where they go with it. It was great storytelling, and I'm invested on where they go with this. I truly have no idea, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. Well, after that, then we got into our next match. We have Willie Mack, the reigning X Division champion, defending his title against what I guess we might as well call him Swing Aside, right?
That's right.
Swing Aside goes to work on Mack early by throwing a few shots at him in the corner. Mack does move out of the corner and pushes Swing Aside to the ropes, and swing. That's hard to say that word though. Swing Aside. Impressively aligns himself up the ropes the way Suicide usually does. And then Swing Aside heads up top, but accidentally falls off, and then just Mack picks him up, hits him with the cutter, and then hooks the pin and retains the X Division Championship match. And of course, Willie Mack looks confused, obviously, because based on how usually the real Suicide wrestles and his acrobatic nature, Swing Aside did nothing of those things. He even tripped up doing the whole where he runs up against the ropes and catches himself. Yeah. Like he's trying to lay there in between the ropes. He tripped up and fell. And Willie Mack looked confused. I liked some of his character facial reactions, like, the hell's going on with this guy? So I thought he did a good job selling it there. But Willie Mack, ultimately, I think we, after we saw the match started, we kind of knew how it was going to end. So he did pick up the victory.
Yeah, it was very, very good, though. It was very entertaining to see Johnny Swinger attempt to do the moveset of Suicide, but then failing completely. That was, it was if haven't seen it, go back and watch just for the antics and character spots alone. It was very entertaining, at least from my standpoint. I love matches like this though, that are just more character and just over the top. And Swinger knows absolutely how to play that up, and it was very well done.
Well, I mean, based on this, it looks like, other than of course Josh Matthews and Madison Rayne in the audience, it doesn't look like everyone knows that that's Johnny Swinger. So he could probably get away coming out to ringside with that, couldn't he?
I mean, one would think. I mean, technically, it wasn't spoiled. You would think in order to spoil it, Mac would have had to go and take the mask off, and that did not take place during the segment.
Right.
I wasn't even thinking of that. My thought was, okay, well, the Suicide thing didn't work, but you're right. He didn't technically get unmasked, so potentially they very well could. But then that's where you would have at the pay-per-view him getting unmasked, possibly get taken out, and then that's when you can bring in the other guy that Swinger has in place, whether that be my personal dream booking, Glenn Gilberti, or whoever they might bring in as the third party. I think absolutely they need to bring in some character to play up another old grizzled vet. And I feel like given Gilberti's and Swinger's background that they could play that up much easier. But you could use another old vet in that spot and potentially do the same thing. But that would be a great opportunity at the pay-per-view for that to happen. The mask gets taken off, he gets exposed, he gets kicked out, and that leads into the finish of the match between Chris Bay and Willie Mack, and ultimately allows Chris Bay to go over and take the X Division title from him.
Agreed. And then after that, we've got a really good backstage interview here with Gabby interviewing Tommy Dreamer. And Tommy Dreamer gives his official press release. Kind of takes a little bit more shots at Moose, but ultimately he's trying to quote unquote apologize to Moose. Moose does.
But it was a very tongue-in-cheek apology, though.
It was.
He talked about how like he knows he doesn't know who Emmett Smith or all these other athletes are, and just listed a whole bunch. And he basically was insulting them as he was apologizing, and it was a very sarcastic apology. But it was funny, though. He had a couple good lines in there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then Moose did jump in because he was like not too pleased with Dreamer's apology. He didn't find it sincere enough, and asked Dreamer, does he really think this is a joke? Dreamer informs Moose that the TNA Championship Committee has informed him he's now the new #1 TNA World Heavyweight Championship contender, and he will be taking on Moose at Slammiversary. Moose tries to fire back like there is no TNA Championship Committee.
Right, and that's funny because this was playing up his angle. He's having this fake championship that he puts over is real, and anytime someone suggests it's fake, he gets so defensive. And then as soon as Tommy Dreamer says he talked to the TNA Championship Committee, Moose goes, "That's stupid. There is no committee. There's no such thing. That's not real." And just immediately gets defensive and angry about it to Tommy, which is his heat, because it's like, dude, you have a fake championship. And then ultimately it came to the final line at the end when he called Tommy out at all this, and Tommy then said, "You're right, and TNA's also not around anymore either," and walked away.
Right.
And then Moose, got
that's
hot.
Stupid. That's stupid. So, but yeah, this was a good interaction between the two. And, even Moose had said at one point, like, if all you wanted was a championship, Tommy, all you had to do was ask.
Yeah.
So, of course, Moose still playing into that TNA legendary rivalry, or TNA past stars from past TNA stars coming to the present. So, I think it'll be interesting. Tommy Dreamer obviously knows how to talk on the mic, so he's going to be able to hype up anything that he's going to be involved with. And then you've got Moose, who's just, in my opinion, the best thing on Impact Wrestling right now. I'm still hoping of hopes that he'll end up in that 4-way match and they'll crown him the champ. But if they don't go with that route, then hopefully they do bring somebody back big too.
And I would have told you a few weeks ago previously, I would have agreed. I think at this point, again, it comes down to, I think the story of that TNA title is now more important necessarily than at least him becoming the champion right now. I think eventually, yes, but I think based on the story with Tommy and TNA, I think that's where his heat is right now. So I could be wrong, but I would not foresee him coming in. I feel like in this World Championship match, we truly are going to see a callback as far as someone that is from the past and is going to be someone to come in and possibly be the one to come in and take or become the new Impact champion.
Okay. Well, then we went to the main event after that. We've got Josh Alexander. This is how we'll conclude the show here, guys. Of course, you're listening to or watching the Impact Attack right here, twitch.tv/Hami Media Group and /Conspiracy Horseman. Or maybe you're watching on YouTube /Hami Media Group. Or maybe you've got it downloaded, Hacker Hameen, on all of your available podcast outlets: Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean. And of course, we're sponsored.
Or perhaps you were on the dark web and you got this illegally, which I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah,
there's plenty of legal ways to get it, but but to each their own. Perhaps there were other ways people got this. But as you were saying, regardless of how you're listening or viewing this right now, we couldn't do it, of course, without our amazing and awesome and wonderful sponsors.
Yeah, our awesome sponsors, Russo Bro on his amazing coffee provided by thebrosters.com, as well as don't forget to check out thebrand.com with Ben Hameen, Stevie Richards. Every week they do Raw and SmackDown reviews with Ben Hameen, so sign up there for $3.99 a month. You can also check out patreon.com/TWC. which is Truth with Consequences. Stevie and Ben also do Master Shoot Theater there as well. So you can check that out. And then, of course, check out ZordosOliveOil.com for the finest Greek artisan olive oil. All the Pro Wrestling Tees stores, ProWrestlingTees.com stores as well. And yeah, let's get into the main event. We've got the Hacker here taking on Impact's Hacker, Sami Callihan.
That's right.
Sorry. Impact's Hacker, Sami Callihan, taking on Ethan Page's boy, Josh Alexander, in a singles bout. And I mean, I thought these guys did some good stuff in here in the match. Both men locked up early on. Callihan put Alexander kind of in a side headlock and tried to do a little bit of the wrestling, slowed down to kind of get things going for the match, right? Callihan drove his knee toward the side of Alexander's head. Alexander, though, flew off the apron and then met Callihan on the outside. Alexander turned things around by smashing a few forearm strikes before Callihan sent Alexander into the guardrail. We come back from break. They're still going back and forth. We see Callihan slamming Alexander on the floor with a powerful Death Valley driver. Ethan Page did try to get involved. The referee pushed him back. Both men then get back in the ring. Alexander applied some more pressure on Callahan's injured ankle. Alexander then kept Callihan down with some forearm strikes. Page was heckling on the outside. Callihan then got back to his feet, pushed Alexander to keep him from hitting him, hitting him with a rolling clothesline, and then looking for a sunset flip before Alexander rolled through. And then Callihan connected with the brainbuster, and then he went for a pin before Alexander kicked out. And the conclusion of this match, we do see a little bit of, I believe there was some interference here from Ken Shamrock as we see Callihan digging his fingers into Alexander's eyes before dropping him with the Cactus Special 97. Page takes out the referee, though, and then Callihan attacks Callihan. And then Shamrock runs down to the ring, puts Page in an ankle lock on the outside, this allowing Callihan to hit the Cactus Special, a.k.a. his pedigree. I'm sorry, not pedigree, his pile driver.
Pile driver.
Yeah, and then the referee rolls over to count the three as Impact's Hacker, Sami Callihan, gets the victory. And that's how it ends. I mean, we get a conclusion with the advertisement for the Slammiversary, but that's how the show goes off the air and ends. So what did you think of this conclusion?
The only thing, I have to say, for me, it's elephant in the room. The kick out of the pile driver, especially since I'm a huge fan of Sami Callihan and his work, and I was just like, I'm hoping maybe it was just timing was off and that Page was supposed to hit the referee prior to the kick out, and Josh Alexander just didn't have a choice but to kick out. I'm going to pretend like that's what actually happened, even though I don't think that's what really happened, because he kicked out and then Page hit accidentally hit the referee. But in my opinion, the way it should have gone down, and perhaps the way they meant for it to go down, because sometimes timing is off and things like that happen. But I would have liked to have hit the Cactus Special, and then that's when Ethan Page takes out the referee, because then the threat is, and that's the heat too, is Sami Callihan would have won if the interference didn't happen. Then enters Ken Shamrock, and then the melee that takes place that eventually leads to the actual finish. But all in all, I thought it still they had a great match otherwise. And I thought, again, this was the final, not the final, but as far as this episode goes, the final beat or the final chapter that showed Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock potentially may be able to get on the same page if their egos don't get in the way potentially. But based on the win here, it also makes me wonder too if maybe it's a red herring and they're going to make it seem like these two are going to come together only for them to fall apart and the North will continue on for the championships, because they are heavily implying that Sami and Ken are going to take him out. But sometimes again, that's just an excuse for them to pull the rug out from underneath you and have the heels end up going over again.
I totally agree. Come over here. What do you want?
MSG, are you talking to Ken Shamrock over there? So are you going to take him on? The MSG off camera.
Well, I've apparently been upgraded here. Now I'm under Hacker Hameen's control. So yeah, guys, go ahead and go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Ben Hameen and pick up yourself a new Pro Wrestling Tees t-shirt. So I'm under the Hackers. I'm sorry.
Cease and desist letters coming your way, MSG.
I'm under Hacker Hameen's gimmick here, guys. So yes, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Ben.
Is that a Dragon Ball Z thing?
It is. It's the Vegeta thing.
Yeah. Like he's over 9,000, folks. He is over 9,000.
That's the sound effects it makes. Anyway, over 9,000. Yes, we are over 9,000 here, as we are over 191,000. Sorry, 1.9.
That's right.
1,991,000. As we are
That's
not
right.
less than 9,000 away from 2 million, guys. So we appreciate you continuing to download our podcast, share, and retweet. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Matthew_Schaffer. You can check out Dr. Ted every Sunday on Barn Burner Network, Barn Burner TV, right? And,
this Sunday, we will have the one Timmy Baltimore on the show. It should be a lot of fun. For those that were following AEW since the beginning, he did a one-off as a commentator on one of the shows. He's been working through some health issues, but he's looking to get back on the scene soon, and we're going to do a deep dive with him about his his past, his how he came to become a commentator, a voice actor, his friendship with Cody, and his involvement in wrestling and everything else. So be sure to check that out this Sunday. It should be a lot of fun.
Definitely, of course, check that out. You can also check out the Monday Locker Room that's up right now on hackerhameen.podbean.com along with Ben Hameen, as they broke down all the events that happened over the 4th of July weekend, and I thought it was a really good podcast. You guys had some really good in-depth conversations there. The Wednesday Locker Room is up right now on hackerhameen.podbean.com with Andrew Bello, Billy Ray Valentine, and the Strangler, Steve King himself. Of course, join twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman here tomorrow for your Friday Locker Room recording. But more importantly, come back tonight. Twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman Infidels with Greek God Papa Don, Stevie Richard.